In this video, we're going to look at the best exercise for the medial delt, dumbbell lat raise or cable lat raise standing. Michael?
So, there are three things that we need to think about. Where does a muscle attach? What's the range of motion? And how are we going to apply resistance to this area? So if we have a look on the skeleton here, so we've got this deltoid that comes all the way from this clavicle round to the spine of the scapula. But the division that we're looking at is the medial deltoids. It's the most lateral. It's the one that's going to create this, face to the camera, it's going to create this curvature here. What did you call it? A capped
delt.
Capped delt. So this muscle attaches here and it comes down and attaches about halfway down the humerus. So we can see that if we move out laterally, this muscle is going to shorten. So think about this. If this muscle attaches here, how far do we need to go? And we really need to go as far as these two ends come together. So let's take a look at this on Luke. So if we find this acromion process, which is somewhere in there, we attach that, we come down and find where that attachment is, and we can feel this muscle. If you get someone to push out, gently push out, we can start to feel where that attachment is. And if you took your arm out to the side, can you see the slackness that's in this rope? That signals this muscle's getting into a shortened position because this doesn't stretch, it doesn't move. So bring it back down. So when I was in the gym the other day, I saw someone going into this range and they were going all the way up to this point here and coming all the way down. And I can't tell you what that guy was working on, but what I can tell you is that once we reach a point where this reaches its maximal shortening, the rest of that range comes from the scapula. So in terms of this muscle, we don't necessarily want to be going past all the way up to there. So the thing when we think about anatomy and structure, we want to think, what's the safest option and what's the most efficient option? And so for this muscle, we're going from there, and we're reaching that point until that acromion process starts to elevate, until that scapula starts to elevate. Okay, so here's a little quick tip on the range. So we've got the muscles, we know where they attach, we know that this gets into the shortened position, this goes into the lengthened position. Look at this bump here and this bump here. If we get to this point here, we start to see that this bump is coming closer to this bump. So this is the great tubercle of the humerus, this is the acromion process of the scapula. Now what we want to do is reach that point. We're not going to be able to go any further. Once that reaches that point, the whole scapula starts to move. Here's a little quick tip for you guys that want to get a little bit more range. If you move forward around 10, 20 degrees, you see how this comes back. And because of the shape of this acromion process, it means you can actually move a little bit further. So if you want to get these fibers into a more shortened position, we need to go from this position. So when we look at the dumbbell, when we look at the cable, we need to be thinking about the position that you're starting in. So let's have a look on Luke. So if I put my hand here on your acromion process, what I want you to do is slowly take this arm out to the side, stop there. And at that point, this scapula starts to move, we can start to see this elevation. And if you kept on going, it's the scapular motion that's allowing this to go further. Come back down again. Now if you lean forward, that's it, keep this arm vertical. So this represents a 20-degree difference. If I put my hand here, and we might see a little bit more, and bring that back down again. So that might be an extra 10 degrees, it might be an extra 15 degrees. And for you guys, that it's important that we get this into a shortened position, that 10, 15, 20 degrees might be a big difference. So what we're going to do is look at two versions of a lateral raise, one's with a dumbbell and one's with a cable. So grab hold of these dumbbells for me, Luke. Okay, and show me this lateral raise, your best lateral raise. That's good, and slowly back down. So I'm going to come away from here, but I just want you guys to see on camera at home how much range he's got. Okay, here we've got a cable lateral raise. So Luke has grabbed all of these grips. He's got the right hand cable in his left hand and vice versa in the right hand. And what I want you to do, you see you can still lean forward on this. You could actually stay upright and just step back. The key thing is that we've got this 10 to 20 degree angle here going forward. But is in this position, just push your chest out and bring your head up a little bit. So we've got that alignment. And then I want you to slowly execute this exercise. That's it. And then slowly, slowly, slowly back down. And just keep on doing that. So the thing that we've got so far, we've got a line of force which is pulling in that direction, which means that at this point in time, there's still resistance on this guy. And then there's resistance all the way through. And we can actually start to measure this, and we can measure the torque if this was a tape measure. So we could start to look, if you stop right here, so slowly out, stop. We can see that line of force, it's just peeking around. We've got an axis here, and we can see that's the moment arm. And the moment arm is how effective this resistance, which on here is 1,000 pounds, how effective that resistance is around that shoulder. And as he comes up, as he gets into a weakened position, you see how it drops off? And it drops off by about half. So this cable lateral raise is creating a challenge, and it's creating a challenge right at this position, and then slowly come up. And it's challenging, and it's challenging, and it's challenging. And it's dropping off just enough when he gets weak, which means that we can load it with enough, so he's creating enough of a challenge at this position.
So Michael, the question, which one's best?
So there's no such thing as best. But if we can figure out the who and the goal, then we can start to get some way of figuring out this is the best exercise for you and for this specific goal. So we've got a who, we've got Luke, and we've got a goal. He wants to develop this medial deltoid. So we want to create a challenge in that muscle from this position all the way to this position, as in the fully lengthened position to the fully shortened position. So we've got the exercise, that dumbbell lateral raise, and we know the challenge is here. Once he gets past this point, there's no challenge, or there's not enough of a challenge. And everyone watching, everyone reading all the comments know that we need progressive overload, and we need progressive overload at each point in the range. So we've got this cable, and the cable is pulling in that direction, which means right now there's a challenge, and the challenge drops off when you get into that position. So there's no such thing as a best that's useful for everyone, but there's a best in terms of you right now and in terms of your goal right now.
Perfect. If you like the video, hit like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe and comment below. Should Michael start a YouTube channel?